morning, everyone, and welcome to One-on-One with the Chief. My name is Tony Farrar, and I am the Chief of Police for the City of Rialto Police Department. And with me this morning is Jay Sumlin, known as JB by his friends. And we're here this morning to talk about a few things that are happening in the community and discuss a couple of questions. So good morning to you, JB.
Yes, sir.
Nice to see you this morning.
Pleasure. Nice to meet you.
And I guess the best thing that we can do is just kind of jump right into the questions, and I'll do the best I can to answer them for you.
Okay. Well, these questions, I met with my neighborhood watch members in the community, and we came up with some questions that they presented most of them and asked me to present them to you. First question is, under what circumstance should a neighbor get involved by calling and reporting a domestic dispute?
Well, the best way to answer that really is anytime you believe that there is any criminal activity taking place anywhere in the city, my thought has been that you should always call the police. Specifically, if we're going to talk about a domestic violence or a domestic dispute, first of all, when somebody does call the police, it gives us a chance to not only respond out there and make an assessment of the situation, but it also gives us an opportunity to find out really what's going on, to kind of bring peace back excuse me, to the situation. And also it gives us a chance to maybe assess things and find out if there are other services that we can provide to the family. Maybe there's something else that's happening there and they may need some other type of assistance. But ultimately, you would be doing the right thing as a citizen by reporting anything that you believe that might lead to a criminal action.
And that's generally the way I look at it. If I see something going on, and
it's good for anybody to subscribe to the concept of see something, say something.
Right.
And it really is. So if you believe that there's something that's taking place and you think that it might lead to a violent situation, or that there is possibly something going on where a family really needs some help. A lot of times it may not be a situation where we need to make an arrest, but yet we still can refer them to a different entity that might be able to help them in some other means, whether it be counseling or something else. So ultimately you would be making the right decision in doing that. So
what are the curfew hours for loud parties, and when should the police department be called?
We do get a lot of calls about noise. So let me answer that question with the measures that we have in place to deal with noise problems. We do have a city noise ordinance that does restrict certain types of noise during certain hours. Music, however, doesn't quite fall underneath that noise ordinance. However, with that being said, there is a penal code that basically talks about disturbing the peace, and that does fall under that. So first, any time that you feel that somebody's music is too loud and it really is disturbing your peace and your lifestyle, especially at night, late at night, that would be a situation where you'd want to call us so we could go handle that. And we could deal with it by merely an advisal to the family or the house that's causing the problem. We could deal with it through a citation, or ultimately, if we had to make an arrest if we couldn't get compliance. Secondly, we do have a first-party response, and this is specifically for music and loud parties. And that encompasses a mechanism where if you called us to go out to a loud party, we would respond out there. We would basically give them a written advisal with a set of guidelines where you have to comply with your music, and also letting them know that if we have to come back, the city is going to charge them for the time and the manpower that we use to have to come back. And usually that detours quite a bit of the second response. If we do come back, we will issue them a second response. We actually write a report and we issue them a citation, and they will be billed for the manpower. The third mechanism, and something a little bit newer now, is the city has enacted a social host ordinance that deals specifically with kind of two different prongs. The first one is the underage drinking at parties. So if we were called to a party, if you will, and there are juveniles drinking there, we can hold the homeowner or the person responsible for the party, hold them responsible via a fine or a citation for underage drinking. The second mechanism is we have a unruly gathering for large groups and parties, and we can also fine and write citations for that. So with that being said, if we kind of bring it back around, anytime music is too loud, or any noise for that matter, if it's disturbing what you're doing, the answer to that is to call us and have us come out and make an assessment on what's happening at the residence, because it could be simply a small birthday party with loud music and we can make an advisal and people will comply and turn the music down, or we may have to step up the enforcement effort in order to get the other people to comply. And if it's a truly unruly gathering, we can shut the party down and we will confiscate the music equipment as well. So we do have mechanisms in place for that, but there's really not a time frame just for music.
Okay.
So I hope that answers that.
Yeah, right. And the other thing is, like we mentioned before, where I live in my area, in particular, is that the county, my back fence is the end of the city, and over that fence is county. So now, but there was an incident, a situation rather, not just necessarily an incident here, a couple of years ago where they went on, and it was during the week, and it went on forever. But it was in the county. So now, if that situation arises in the county, should I call the sheriff department? Or we should call the sheriff department, or should we call Rialto police?
Normally, I would tell you that if things are taking place in a different jurisdiction, it would be a county response. But ultimately, we do have reciprocal agreements with different law enforcement agencies, whether it's the county, whether it's San Bernardino Police Department, Colton, those agencies that border the city of Rialto. So if you called us, we could still go out, we could still make an assessment, we could still give an advisal, and then what we could do in turn is we would call the other agency and say, look, you're having a problem. I have a resident in my city calling about an issue, but the real issue is coming from a residence located in your jurisdiction, so perhaps we can work together to solve the problem. But there's no problem with calling us initially,
right,
and at least we can make that assessment and try to solve the problem for you.
Number 3 question is, at what point should the police be called when a suspicious vehicle has been parked for an extended period of time?
That's a really good question, and the answer to that is whenever you feel that whether it's a vehicle or an individual doesn't really belong and you think that there's something happening or it's suspicious, just you've got that gut feeling and something's not right, you need to call us. And I know a lot of people might say, hey, we just didn't want to bother you because we didn't think it was a big deal. Well, it is a big deal because a lot of times, law enforcement works off of information. And the more information we have, the better we do our job. So what we're asking anyone in the community to do is if there's a car parked in your neighborhood and you don't recognize it, and it's been there for quite some time, not just 5 or 10 minutes, where maybe somebody's visiting, but if you think that car has been there for a while and that it just doesn't belong there, you need to call us so we can come out and make a determination on why it's there. I would also add to that that the more information you give us, the better. So whether you call us or not, a description of the car, a license plate, anything else that can really help us, because who's to really say, if we're going to use an example here, that they don't park the car on a street and they're burglarizing a home around the corner? Well, if we don't get a license plate, it's going to be a little harder for us to maybe track them down. But if we get a license plate, it's going to make our job a lot easier to catch the person responsible. So my suggestion is, and going back to what we talked about a minute ago, see something, say something, that's really important. And we've caught many a criminal off of somebody calling off of a suspicious vehicle or a suspicious person walking around in the neighborhood. Those are things that your police department needs to know about. And you're not wasting our time, and if we come out and it belongs in the neighborhood, great. Now you can feel a little more comfortable, right, and if you see the car again the next time, you won't have to worry about it. But honestly, it's the person that sometimes turns a blind eye to it and doesn't let us know that something happened, and then something does take place where we could have, we could have negated that issue. So I really subscribe to the theory of if you see something that is suspicious in your mind, you need to let us know.
Right. And actually, and going along with that, I'd say that that's what Neighborhood Watch is kind of about. It's kind of keeping your eyes open and looking for suspicious stuff, unusual activities of more or less any sort, I guess, huh?
That is the essence, the true essence of Neighborhood Watch, is people watching out for people.
Right.
But, if I'm going to be, I'm not going to say that, for law enforcement, it's great to have Neighborhood Watch, people watching out for people, and that's really what it is. But honestly, you're the eyes and ears for us. And, that's how we catch criminals, because people call us.
Right.
And, it's not, we don't always, certainly we drive around and we observe things as law enforcement and we make arrests and we see things, but, the majority of our arrests or responses are based off of information from people calling in. And that's really where it starts. Right. So, yes, Neighborhood Watch is a fantastic thing, but let's add something to it to where, while you're watching out for each other, make sure you let us know what's going on in your neighborhoods so we can make sure that it's a safer place to be.
Right. Number 4 question. There are areas in our neighborhood that borders San Bernardino County. If we saw criminal activity and were not sure if it occurred in the city or the county, would Rialto Police Department respond to a call if called? Basically what we've been talking
yes,
about.
and we talked about that earlier, but just to kind of expand on it a little bit, we do have mutual aid and reciprocal agreements with the different agencies, but let's be honest, crime doesn't always have borders. So with that being said, that if you observe something right on the border and you call us, what we would do is we would respond out and we would determine jurisdiction. What we really want to do is go out and deal with the situation, and then once that's dealt with, we'll figure out who's going to make the arrest or write the report. But honestly, if somebody needs help, whether it's here, the border of San Bernardino, the border of Colton, border of Fontana, that's irrelevant. So my message would be, you call us. Let us get out there, stabilize whatever it is that's going on, and then if we need to call a different department to come out and handle the situation, we'll do that. But ultimately, safety is what we're dealing with here and figuring out what's going on. So again, I go back to, you call us and we'll handle the situation, and then whoever's going to clean it up at the end, we'll make sure that the right jurisdiction handles that.
Get the problem solved.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5 is, within the city and elsewhere, I've seen the left turn arrow come on when there was no vehicle present in the left turn lane. Aren't those arrows supposedly to be controlled by an embedded sensor?
Not being a traffic engineer, honestly, I'll try to answer that the best I can. A lot of the traffic signals are time controlled or sensor controlled. And if you have one that's not quite moving as quickly as it should, based on the time of day, and a lot of times these are during the evening hours where the lights don't change as fast as they probably should, that would be something that you would want to call our Public Works Department, who in turn would get with the city engineer or traffic signal maintenance and try to determine what the issue is. But you would need to be pretty specific on reporting which light you're talking about, what intersection it's at, which direction it's facing, so we could handle that problem.
Yeah, this particular intersection actually is there at Ralph's Market on Riverside, and because that's the area I live in. But anyway, I've gone through when there's no. I'm thinking my light's going to go. I mean, I'm in the straight lane, go through lane, and all of a sudden the turn arrow come up, and there's nothing there. And I've seen that a number of times. But then I've also seen where it works like I think it should. So it could be just a malfunction equipment or whatever.
It could be a malfunction, or honestly, since you or I are probably not, I mean, we're not engineers, obviously.
Right.
That just may be the cycle of the light. And that's how they run the cycles of the lights, because I have been at intersections where you may be, say, going northbound in a direction, and the left turn arrow will turn on with nobody in the lane.
Right.
And that just may be the way that the lights are set to cycle.
I see.
So I think that would be a good question for City Public Works to answer.
Okay. How long can, number 6, how long can an RV remain parked on the street? You know, like if it's parked there, been sitting there for a few days, or
Again, another good question. Basically, the city does have an ordinance for parking. Basically, you can leave a vehicle parked at a location for 72 hours at a time. Now, that is going to be a discretionary type issue with law enforcement and parking control, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to issue a citation and you have a perfectly fine running car and you just happen to be on vacation and it's parked out in front of your house for 3 or 4 days. But if you believe that the vehicle is abandoned or something different, again, that would be where you would call us out. We would come out, we'd run the license plate, determine if it belongs there, make sure it's not stolen, make sure it belongs in the neighborhood. If it's been parked in front for 2 or 3 days, we can make contact with the owner and say, hey, you know, technically you're only supposed to have a vehicle parked out front for 72 hours, you know, at a time, and you know, it's an eyesore in the community or what have you. If you believe it to be abandoned, what we'll do is we'll come out and we'll tag it, which means that we'll come out, we'll put a warning on the window, we'll make a little mark on the tire, and if we come back in 72 hours and it's still like that, we'll issue a citation, or if it's a hazard, we'll tow it. So I think for us, it's going to be it's kind of a case-by-case basis, a little bit of discretion, so we're not citing those. But I mean, if you have a vehicle that's parked there, it's got trash underneath it, it's got spider webs, and it's just been there, that's blight, that's an eyesore for the community, and you need to let us know so we can come out and we can get that car out of there.
Number 7. Well, this lady lived across the street before the new fire station on Riverside. She wanted to know if this is way back though, you know, if they're going to have some kind of traffic control. So I told her, yeah, but anyway, she wanted to ask that question, but it's all been taken care of.
It's been taken care of.
Everything's brand new, beautifully done.
It's a beautiful station.
Yeah.
There is a traffic signal in front,
Right.
so that issue has been taken care of.
Right. And I was trying to throw some questions in, so they would give me these questions. I said, well, I think I know that, but they said, well, okay, throw it in anyway. That was number 7. Number 8 is how might we go about getting a speed bump installed on Casmalia Street, west of Apple Avenue? The problem is that there's a short curve west of Apple, and cars come around the corner at a very high rate of speed, and there have been numerous accidents. I don't know if you're familiar with that particular location, but it's a short curve here. And Apple comes out dead ends here, and I remember that some guys came around the corner and hit the light pole and knocked it down, and the people who live there said there have been numerous accidents there. He proposed, this is someone else, that he proposed a speed bump, but I was thinking later, traffic signal, I mean not traffic signal, but a stop sign each way. See, there's a stop sign on the street deading into Casmalia, straight through on Casmalia, but I was thinking probably be cheaper to put stop signs on each side.
Yeah, that would be the first thing that we would want to do is whoever, you know, if there's a traffic issue, Sergeant Robert Smith, he's in charge of our traffic unit, that would be the one that you'd want to contact directly to kind of explain the problem.
Right.
And then what we would do from there is we would make an assessment, we would pull some statistical information on crashes that were up in the neighborhood, citations that we may have written in the neighborhood to find out really kind of what's going on. The next step is we would move that over to Public Works and City Engineering to do a deeper analysis of what's going on up there. We could do a speed survey, a separate speed survey in that area to determine if the speeds are too fast. And then that's when they would really analyze what's going on to see what would be the best fit for what's up there. Whether it be a speed bump, a stop sign, the engineers would be better apt of determining what that is. Speed bumps, you know, they're great ideas, but they don't always work in every location. And an example of that would be, you know, if it's on an area that the speed limit is a little bit faster, larger vehicles with loads, when they go over the speed bumps, they're going to make noise, and then you're going to have a noise issue.
Right.
If it's in a place where, again, the speeds are a little bit quicker, you might have an issue with causing a traffic accident because of the speed bump. So, just kind of reading between the lines, the stop sign is actually might even be a better idea and a more practical idea for something up there. So. My suggestion to whoever it was that authored the question, and I'll take the lead on this and make sure that it gets there, would be to, again, we'll run it through the traffic division, we'll take it to Public Works, to City Engineering, and have the experts kind of analyze what it is, what would be the best fit for the problem up there on how we could fix that for you.
Very good.
Any more questions that come to mind?
I think that's all of my questions.
Is there anything that's not on the list that maybe you might want to take a second and talk about?
I thought about some things earlier, but I forgot to write them down. So at this point, I think that's about it. I just might want to say that I've been to a number of the area command meetings, and I thought that's a very good program.
I appreciate it. I was at the end. I was gonna kind of pitch the area command, so this is a great time. I do appreciate you. First of all, taking a few minutes to come talk to me. I think that the more that this police department interacts with the community, which we do a very good job at, it just makes everybody's job a lot easier. The area command meetings are a great forum for people to come to and to bring issues to the table, and we can work with whatever department it is that we have in the city to try to solve whatever issue it is. So it is a fantastic forum to do it. I do know we have one more area command meeting coming up this month in June. So for those of you in the public, make sure you check the website for the next area command meeting. And if you haven't gone to one before, you really should take JB's advice, and you should attend your local area command meeting, because it is a fantastic opportunity for you as a community member to bring concerns to the table, or again, just exchange information and tell us what's going on in your neighborhoods and how it is that we can help. So on behalf of myself and the staff, JB, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with me this morning. And maybe if you come up with some more questions at a later time, we'll get back together and we'll go over those.
We'll do. Appreciate your time.
All right, thanks. And I'd also like to take the time to invite all of you, or anyone that's interested, to continue this one-on-one with the chief. And if you have any concerns in your neighborhood that you'd like to bring forward and talk about one-on-one, I would greatly appreciate it, and I can't wait to meet with the rest of you throughout the year. So thank you very much, JB. I appreciate it.
Thank you.